Okay, this is our counseling session for advanced counseling, 525. This is Brenda. She'll be helping me with this project. First, we need to cover the legal and ethical issues. Basically, this will probably not be seen by anyone except for the instructor. Maybe some of the individuals that work out in this, so are you familiar with basically, anything that happens or said should be confidential between us, or a few exceptions. Do you have any occurred? Okay. We're going to try to cover the basic counseling skills. And also one or two advanced counseling skills, challenging or something, depending where the conversation can go. Okay. Any questions?
Nope. It sounds great. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So what brings you in today?
I just really need somebody to talk to. I got a lot of stuff going on, and I want to try to learn how to prioritize the things going on in my life right now.
So what kind of things are kind of going on?
Well, last week I was told that my job is downsizing and I'm going to lose my job at the end of June. So I have to find a different job being a single mom. Kind of the only breadwinner in the family. So I got to make sure that I can still do that. And then my oldest, who will be 19 in June, he's in Job Corps and just finished his high set, and then told me he wants to come home. He doesn't want to finish his Job Corps, which he's only got like 2.5 months left, but I don't know if I can change his mind. Well, no, I'm sure I can't change his mind on that. And then my daughter is going to be 16 in a couple weeks, and she feels like school's boring now. She doesn't want to, doesn't seem to want to go every day right now. So I feel like the job is the most important. Like, that's number one. I have to have a job. So do I want to move? Do I want to continue my education? Do I want to work and continue my education? Where do I want to move? What do I want to do next? Do I want to stay in the field I'm in now, or do I want to go somewhere else? Okay. That's a lot right there.
That is quite a bit. So what do you think will contribute to whether you stay or whether you go, or whether you find another field? What are the factors that will influence that decision?
Well, 5 years ago, I quit. No. Sorry, 7 years ago, I quit school because I lost my job and was in between jobs, and I just didn't feel like at that time school was my number one priority. I had to prioritize my life in that time. At that point, school was not at the top of the list. So I stopped going, and I just talked to the school that I was going to, and I have 5 classes to take. And at that school, that would be 1 semester and 1 class. So a semester and then another 8 weeks. But my degree would be in finance. And I'm not sure that that's what I want to do now. Because for the last 6+ years now, I've been working in the human service field. And I love it. I feel like it's my passion. I feel like it's what God wanted me to do. So, or wants me to do. Maybe wanted, I don't know right now. So I just got my transcripts from the school that I was going to, or just ordered them. And I'm going to go talk to Purdue Global University and see if they can tell me, with my life experience and my credits from school, how long it would take me to get a degree in human services through them. So I think that's the school part of it, but we still have the whole job thing. And the last time I quit school was because I lost my job. And so now I want to try to do both.
Funny how that kind of
8 years older.
Yes. So, I think I've heard a couple of things. Let me just make sure. So, you've been checking into some schools. You've kind of been doing the legwork to see what you need to do to get back in, if that's feasible. And I think I heard you say that you were considering changing your major to
Mm-hmm.
kind of fit along to what you're doing now, what your occupation is. Okay. Those maybe some interesting things to look into. Have you found out if they like give you life credits, for working on it? Sometimes you may be able to interchange them. Sometimes you may be able to. There's lots of people who have degrees in something else and are doing something different. They find out that's different. Have you looked into those things, or what are you doing?
I have. And because I really want to work in human services or social work, you have to have a license or a degree in social work to do social work. When I worked at a big bank in their mortgage department, in the finance department, my manager's manager, who was pretty close to the top, had a degree in criminal justice, but worked in the finance department. I think a lot of times in fields like that, it's easy to do. If you're good with numbers, you're going to do good in the finance department. I think that in order to get a human services or social work degree, you have to be a completely different person than somebody with a finance degree, or you have to have that passion in you, and not very many do. So I think they look for people in that field that have that type of degree.
I think I hear you saying that people who are in finance, those are numbers people, and in the social service field, they look for emotional people, helpers. I guess you would say, not people who are isolated, who like to be numbers, like a bean counters.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, are there possibilities? Because sometimes there may be certifications that you may be able to get. You have to okay. If you start over, the amount of time and the amount of dollars that you have to invest, would you have to take some classes over, or could you? I don't know. Just from my experience, I know some things are regulated by federal and some are regulated by state. Have you look into what the requirements are to have those certifications in whatever area you will ultimately wind up, like say in Iowa, what the social services board or council code is, and what the requirements are, whether you have to have a degree or whether you have to have taken a certain course or have a certain amount of hours into those different things.
As far as I know, if I do social worker and I don't want to become a therapist, there's no extra certifications. It's just the 4 years of school. So that's what I'm doing at Purdue, being that it is a school that uses your lived experience. All of my finance classes that I took in my other school will go towards all of my electives. So all my electives would be filled already with those. And then some, And then with using my lived experience for the last 6.5 years, doing the peer support that I do, I'm hoping that I would get out of a few classes, if not many classes, with what I've done with working with the Medicaid population, working with homeless people, working with below poverty level people. I think that will get me out of a lot of the classes that I required for that social services or human services degree. So Purdue Global is the only school I know that uses, for sure, lived experience to advance you past classes.
Okay. Almost sounds like double major, or almost, because you have the
Pretty close.
and always comes in. I mean, I can always use the financial class. You know, kind of stretch around it a little bit longer. So, do you? What type of concerns or issues are you running into that are kind of preventing you from continuing your education or deciding that you can take another route? What is it that that you can do? Kind of work on to move towards making that decision of whether you're going to work or move into a totally different career.
I think that school is going to be a major decision maker on that, what I can or can't do with school. But I also have thought about living in Iowa. There's no one here really holding me here. With my kids being as old as they are, my son could move out on his own once he gets a job and does his own thing if he chose to. And my daughter only has 2 more years of school left. So I've thought about just picking up and moving. If I could find a job working for the company that I work for now in a different state, doing either the same thing I'm doing or doing a supervisor position for what I'm doing, I would be willing to move depending on where it was. But I also think that because I have that option of moving, there's no job out there in the United States that I couldn't look at.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
So you're pretty confident about your skills.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. It's just a matter of the particulars and the fine print
right.
To make sure it's a good fit for you and what you want to do. So, I kind of hear you saying, I think I hear you that your adolescents, kids will be flying the coop, for lack of a better word.
Yep, absolutely.
And you'll be what do we call it?
Empty nester.
Yeah. What do you feel about that? You know, some people look forward to it. Some people, despite don't even want to think about it. Do you think that'll be a positive or?
As long as you don't show this to my kids, I will tell you the answer.
Okay. Well, we get time to think. We will not share any information with you.
I'm looking forward to it. I love my kids to death. My kids are a lot like me, but a lot like their dad too. And I'm especially looking forward to my son getting on his own. I've enjoyed the last 8 months without having to butt heads with him while he was at Job Corps. So I'm looking for him to move quickly. And my daughter, I pray that she moves quickly. I worry about her social anxiety. I worry about her being successful because of her mental health. But she has so much potential. If she can get past her social anxiety and her anxiety, I think she will blossom into an absolutely successful woman.
So she has these issues that she didn't want to think that know, is there some a major concern that something, some impending doom you feel may, are there, or is there anything that would point towards that not being the case?
I think the scary part to me is that their dad is diagnosed with bipolar, and when she was in third grade, she got diagnosed with DMDD. It wasn't called that then. They've changed the DSM to DSM-5, so they've changed the diagnosis. But disruptive mood dysregulation disorder is what she's diagnosed with, and a lot of times there are many, many traits that are the same as bipolar. And when they get older, the diagnosis changes to bipolar. Now, she's been taking meds since she was in third grade. If she continues to take her meds and continues to do therapy and continues to see her med doctor, I think she'll do fine. But if she chooses to ever stop that, that's when I worry.
And what are those, when this scenario playing out in your mind, or what is it that you project may happen, or type of situation do you, I know we all want our kids to be safe and make the best decisions, but is there something that causes you to concern, extra round of concern?
I guess when I think about my relationship with their dad, my ex-husband, we were together for 8 years, and in those 8 years that we were together, we moved 9 times, and he had 11 jobs and had 2.5 years where he was unemployed. And so that scares me for her. Like, she needs routine, she needs a set schedule, and if she goes off of her meds and she starts to get depressed or starts to go through manic episodes where she doesn't sleep for days on end, I'm concerned that she will not be the success that she could be if she stayed on her meds.
I think I hear, or if you can clarify them, has there been things that point towards give you cause for that, other than you said their dad, if I'm not mistaken, has been, how long has it been since he's been involved?
What do you mean?
I could be wrong, so I'm trying to clarify if you can. You said their dad was, and he's no longer available to help guide those.
I don't think that was ever something that I said, but you're right. We were together for 9 years. When my daughter was 5 is when we separated, and at that point he never looked back. He never came to see the kids. He never sent them cards, nothing, no communication whatsoever. So for the last 10 years, Cassie hasn't had any communication with her dad, but bipolar can run in families. So when she was diagnosed with the DMDD, I did a lot of research, and it is very similar to bipolar, and her dad has bipolar and was choosing not to be medicated when we were together. I don't know if he's medicated now, but then he wasn't. He does not live in the same state we do. He doesn't seem to care enough to ask how they're doing.
Well, I just trying to get some clarification. A couple of things. I know that because you spoke about the diagnosis, and you you also spoke that, a lot of them have the same symptoms. Sometimes even that we, or, it could be very easily have the symptoms that could be read as what the curriculum calls for this certain diagnosis. So we like to try not to. It's relative. I wouldn't. By all means, if it's something that's showing the signs, but I also wouldn't want to project something on if she's functioning well.
Oh, absolutely.
The unknown is quite devastating.
That's mom's job, though.
Mm-hmm. So, what do we work on to? Because it's as an adult, I should always be concerned about and trying to clear the path for them and trying to make sure that they're okay. But a lot of times in preventive medicine and preventive steps are fine so long as they aren't hindering the growth or causing a concern. So, let's talk about what do you think? How, if there's a percentage of the times when you see a certain action and you automatically go to the DSM and go, that's her illness, and not because a lot of things are
That's just not her 15-year-old.
Right, exactly.
Not very often.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely look more towards her age, and all of the hormonal things she's going through. But I've actually had her on birth control to help that with her mental health for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. And it's made a huge difference in her regulating her hormones. So I would say because she has a mind of a genius and is a 10th grader, she gets very bored. So when school issues come up, like I don't want to go, I don't want to be there, I don't, I think a lot of that comes from her being bored. Like last week, Monday, when she didn't go to school, and I talked to her about it later, she said to me that in speech class, they are doing this particular speech, and they had all last week to work on it, and they have until Wednesday when they have to do their speech, and she was done with hers, so she didn't want to go to school because she didn't want to be in that class bored. So she needs a lot to occupy her mind.
So sometimes because we can see a lot. I mean, not just with that. A lot of kids sometimes are not challenged by the work, and that's really important to get them to engage and to be challenged so that they can grow. So, what are some things that you think would help you to get have some peace of mind about all this life-changing events that are happening to you at basically the same time? You said you're, if I'm correct, you were kind of forced into make a career change or decision or something. You have 2 teenagers. One's completing some, of course, I think just completed high set, and is kind of getting ready to step into independence. And you have a younger one who in a couple of years will have some decisions to make that are going to affect her for the rest of her life. today that can help build a solid foundation for those, so that it's easier or less painful for them to transition into adulthood?
Obviously, a plan to her further her education, because that's the plan she wants to do. For him, helping him get his resume the way it needs to be, helping him, teaching him how to do it so he can do it on his own. Talk to him about mock interviews and do some mock interviews with him so that he's more comfortable when he's doing interviews. And when he does get a full-time job, it'll be how much money do you need to save, or I'll charge you $200 a month rent, but give that back to him when he is ready to move out, to help him with that. Just basic life skills they both still need some work on.
We can look through our little toolbox of skills and kind of upgrade and discharge our son. But I can tell you that there's it's not unusual for adolescents and teenagers to have concerns and have to make those decisions. Sometimes they're not comfortable. But what can you think you can do to help make that easier for them? I'm trying to understand. You said you wanted Donnie to do some mock interviews and prepare to go. How does you have this conversation with him, and the results are?
He's positive about it.
He's positive. He wants to do the mock interviews and
yeah.
Well, that's a great thing. A lot of times, kids and teenagers have minds of their own and kind of go off with it, and so that's wonderful to have a line of communication open with.
Well, the other thing that I said was when he moved back home, before he can get out on his own, it's not going to be like he was here when he was in high school. He's going to have to be the adult. He's going to have to pick up after himself. He's going to have to chip in chores. He's going to have to start doing more to help out the household if he plans on staying here.
Just for clarification for me, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. We're kind of running here to give us kind of some food for thought to think about and bring in next week. Because I oftentimes have things when I'm having a conversation and a lot of times what I think is common knowledge is not, and what I project is not what everybody else that's involved in really wants to do. What is it that you are doing to help with the communication between you and to make sure that to follow up so that a lot of kids, a lot of people, adults as well, have to make decisions and nobody ever checks to see if they checks their answers or follows up. It's just kind of on their word. Or is there anything that you can think of that will help you be more comfortable that they're making the transitioning, and that make them more comfortable that they are getting that independence that they so desire?
Since he's been at Job Corps, I don't do a whole lot of calling him. I wait for him to call me. If I do not hear from him for over a week, I might just call and check in or send him a text to check in. But he's been, for the last couple of months, really good at communicating with me. Like this weekend, he's in Council Bluffs. And he told me on Wednesday that he was going to Council Bluffs with his friend and that he was going to be there for the weekend. And so I texted him or called him today just to check in because I haven't heard all weekend from him. And he said, I'm still at, I think the kid's name is Aaron, I don't remember, Aaron's house, but, you know, we'll be back. No problem. We'll be back by 9 o'clock. And I was like, okay, so you know when you're supposed to be back and you're going to do that. That's good. Great. So then I said, you text me when you get back. And it was like 5 to 9. Mom, we're back. So I think we need a lot of checks and balances with him, a lot of reinforcement, but he needs positive reinforcement. Because of his oppositional defiant disorder, when you start barking orders at him, he shuts you off. So everything for him has to be positive. And, you know, he said before he left for the weekend, he said, so are we still on for next weekend, me coming home on Friday on the bus and bringing all my stuff? And I said, still sad that you plan on coming home. It's not what I want you to do. But you're a big boy, you have to make those decisions yourself. So trying to give him those wings, but also letting him know that I'm not super happy about the decision you're making. Are you sure that's a good decision? But I can't tell him it's a bad decision because then he will do it anyways. You know what I mean? Nothing's going to... me saying, I really want you to finish. You're losing out on $1,000 cash. You're losing out on having a certificate from Job Corps saying you completed that. You know, giving him all those positive things that by leaving 2.5 months early, he's losing out on, hasn't seemed to change his mind.
Well, I think that's but we'll maybe maybe we can. I always encourage people to write things down, and you know, negative is not, but it's something that also has to be addressed. Maybe a list of, you know, pros and the cons, not only with him and decisions that he's making, but also with work and, you know, the other. And maybe by writing these things down, there'll be more attainable, you know, something that that you all can kind of discuss and come to a mutual agreement or understanding, so that you know, as we transition, move forward, it's as smooth as possible.